recording and say thank you for showing up today. It's Laura J, Jared Wade, and we got Archangel Michael. Is that correct? Is
Yes.
Telegram group? You shared a lot of really insightful stuff, Michael. If you would just do a little plug for your Telegram group, I think it would be valuable for others who discover this message and might want some positivity from you. And then Jared Wade and I will be kicking off with his interview today. So hey, my friend. Oh, you are still muted, my friend. You gotta unmute yourself. If you don't, then you can't speak. But Michael, if
is that better?
Oh, there we are. Yes, that's much better.
Yes. Okay, good. Good deal.
Sweet. Yes, we will be sharing our experience of transforming our self-image through the hero's journey of creating Album 22. We've got Album 22.2, and I appreciate your sharing the spell magic words that you've got there, Michael. So,
yeah, I put it in the chat.
That's brilliant. And then just break down what that means to and for those who go and check out your work.
Well, I mean, it's just really a personal place where I share music, poetry, ideas, try to make positive connection as much as possible to where we're going and what we're doing.
Yes, I love it. That's why I wanted you to be one of the first to introduce yourself today and say cheers to new beginnings and cat lovers and lovers of all kinds, because that is what it takes in order for us to be willing to reach for higher levels so that we can meet new devils and pay higher rent and have new neighbors and have better views too. So it costs more, but it's worth it in the end, as we know. And Jared, I'm so looking forward to our interview where we can actually dig into what this whole experience has meant to you and for me too. And ultimately, it's the transformation of our self-image individually and collectively, which interestingly then grows still with an awesome logo pops in. Hello and welcome.
Hey.
Amazing. Who do we have here in the street?
I'm Jasmine and this is Devo.
Hello.
Devo. I love it. Grow still. Devo, Jasmine, can you write your names in the
Yes, sorry.
just so that I can log it in mind and we don't spend time questioning and doubting. And it's very interesting names. I love you guys have such a cool vibe to you. It's awesome to see you here. Thank you. Oh, beautiful. Oh, and hello. Who do we have here who has just joined in? You're muted. You're on the bus.
Oh, it's Mary, and I forgot to put my name over here.
You did, but I see you in the bus, and wow. Okay, very cool. It's awesome to have you here again, Mary, as well. And in the chat as well, Jazz and Devo, you can see that Michael shared his Telegram group, which is a really useful reference. And we got Robin Benedict popping in, who is going to be contributing freedom to the album, which is super exciting. And so Robin's been an artist in Ontario for a long time. Now she's in Mexico and she's a mother now too. So she's completely transformed her self-image. And yeah, we've got Alan there beside her. DJ Alan, awesome to see you.
Can you hear us?
Yeah, we can hear you, Robin.
Oh, good, okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, we're just chilling. Alan's not feeling the best, but he's feeding the babes while I socialize. I'm just kidding.
Well, can I actually say that cellular vibrational upgrades are like a rocket ship taking off, and ascension symptoms are very flu-like. So when we do have a reset, like what we're dealing with right now, collectively and individually,
Yeah.
don't we kind of notice how many of us felt unwell over the last month? Like we're all kind of upgrading in our own time, in our own process, and we've all got unique systems. This is just
Yeah.
my BS. Take it, leave it, you know.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
But
Because our digestive systems are also changing too, right? Which is, and if you ever had digestive issues, which, you know, I'm sure we all have, everything that's like that ails us comes straight from the digestive system, right? So could be considered like maybe a cleansing of
well,
the old
yeah.
too, right?
Well, that is literally, yeah, this is definitely a
Yeah.
mass cleansing that we're experiencing. And
Yeah.
that's part of the reason that we really need to be more intentional about actually hearing the cries of freedom in the back. You know, not actually, though freedom is the baby crying in the background, which is so befitting. And, you know, we knew freedom when she was still in mama's belly, and now mama's here, you know, and that's so cool to be part of a process where we can actually come together and witness the growth of life, because that's the opposite of evil. And
It's the opposite of evil.
right? Look at that. Precious.
Baby.
Oh my God, she's just too cute. She's a dose of just like, oh, love and eh?
Yeah.
So much love. Oh, it's so
I don't know what
cute.
I would do without her. Yeah.
I know. She's like, you know, this miracle thing that just came during the right time, eh?
Yep. Totally. 100%. Oh, she's cute, Daddy.
Yeah, I know.
You stink.
Well, if you ever need babysitters, you got one here.
Well, you want to come to Mexico?
Hi.
Come to Mexico?
This is community.
Mexico?
Yeah, we
Oh.
left Canada.
Oh, you're in Mexico? Oh, that's nice.
So baby Freedom is Mexican.
Oh, yay.
Irene, it's awesome to have you here too. And I'm gonna say, why are you going out of here? Can you still see me? There we go. My computer flicked off. It's got a lot going on, like we all do. And so that's kind of the reason that I wanted, and Jared, we wanted to host the Mental Health Summit to be able to kind of get ourselves ordered. Because one of the craziest thing in this big pharma culture is how we're supposed to just throw a Band-Aid solution on it. And ironically, in Nathan Phillips Square, where I was at Monday, was literally a Band-Aid in the O of Toronto. Band-Aid solutions much? Like, it's right there for us if we actually look for it. And if we're in our head, we are not in our heart. And so that is where we can start to really take our power back from all the places that we used to give it away. And so that was actually what Jared and I did when we said, okay, he wanted people to get my message out, and he has an incredible message as well. And so we decided to team up. And in doing so, it was just, he gathered some people at first and brought, and it said, I could lead the meeting. And I said, okay, as long as the meeting is the only thing I have to do, hosting it. I don't want to have to record it. I don't want to have to edit things. I'll host the meeting. And so I just said, okay. And he did all of the work in bringing some amazing people together. And it was like, I showed up and it was like iron sharpened iron in that meeting. And I was caught in a fear paradigm that was, I was able to be snapped out of by Luna Keller, who has prophecy, ironically, on album 22, right? And it was like, after that first meeting, it was just, okay, can we get these people to come again? And so we did in 2 weeks. And then more amazing people came, new faces again. And then it was just like, oh my God, all right, well, what would it take to keep them coming? And I said to Jared, how easy would it be to do an album? I have no idea how to do that. It's not my domain. Like, that would be all on you. I'll host the meetings though. And Jared, what did you say? And what was that experience like for you?
So Yeah, I'd been in communication with Remini a bit before about bringing artists together to do something, to physically do something to make the world a better place. And being I guess a student of your coaching really helped me to transform my self-image and really step out and think, okay, well, we can do this. I need help. And when I came to you, and the idea was on your mind, the idea was on my mind, and the idea was on Remini's mind, and it all just kind of came together as like, this is what we have to do. And it was what is it in the Great Gatsby, the all-seeing eye or the unseen hand? You see the unseen hand working in our lives, where it's just like, this is the direction that the universe wants you to take. And it was just so powerful to be in the room with all the people who had that same vibe of, we need to make the world a better place with this gift of art that we've been given. And it was just an amazing experience to be a part of. And stepping into it, that initial, okay, let's do this, I had no idea what I was doing. Terrified out of my mind, because I've never done anything like that before in my life. But I just felt like this is bringing together all my gifts and abilities. And this is something that Laura, who was an amazing influence on me, is supporting. Like, I can do this. We can do this together. And we did. We jumped in, and like you mentioned Luna Keller before. She was such an amazing inspiration to me personally before we started the album. And then jumping into it, just the person that she is, so amazing. Her intuition, her insight, her ability, and her contribution to that album project was just amazing, just overwhelming almost. Like, really something she took to heart and maybe took on a little bit too much of, but she really shined with what she did and how she organized everything and laid it out. And I don't want to jump too far ahead, but yeah, just the initial experience of bringing everybody together in the room in a Zoom just like this one, where everybody felt the need to jump in and contribute and be a part and just feel a sense of family in a time of isolation. It was really a miracle project to come together.
I fully 100% agree. And Luna, when he says she ordered things, her and I worked together to put the songs in order, to take you on a journey. And so I kind of based my suggestions for which order the songs would go in on the Sacred Sojourn of the Soul, which is the video series that I launched in November. And I just this last week actually posted the full video. So all 3 videos in one, so you don't have to jump, and it's not trying to sell you anything other than ideas, which you can take, leave, or change to your liking. But ultimately, this whole experience has been exactly that. It's just like, before this experience, you can, the eyes widen, and who really admits that, like, I had no idea what I was doing, but I said yes because I was called to do it. And that's brave.
Right.
Like, that's vulnerable.
Well, and Laura, like you just said, you and Luna worked together on organizing the album. You said, okay, I'll help host these meetings, but I can't agree to anything else. And ended up doing and stepping in and so much more than just being a passive host. You were an active participant and really some of the glue that helped pull this together. So yeah, it stretched me, grew me, stretched you, grew you. Everybody that really was involved has really seen the benefits and the blessings of being involved.
Yeah. And you know what? I want to actually say there was a point that really made me laugh. But you know how when you're working with, is anyone familiar with the DISC personality types? With like D, you've got the determined, disciplined, driven, entrepreneurial type that's like, this is the task, this needs to get done. And then you've got the I's, which are like the in the moment and party and life of the party and really engaging and interactive. And then you've got the S, which are the supportive mother ducks, and the ones that are more nurturing and quieter, but very inclusive and comforting. And then you've got the C's, which are cautious and calculated and very scientific. And so you've got all of these personalities, and we all have a primary personality type, and then we have a secondary personality type. And I don't know why I brought the DISC personality assessment styles or the personalities in there. Oh, but it was because in a moment, I am very, like, my primary is an I. So I'm very out there. I'm engaging. I love to be included. Like, I love to be included, and I love to include others, which is funny because Janine Emily comes in this moment. So it's just proof the universe sends in the moment to just back up what is being shared, because that's how, if we listen to learn how to follow the signs, symbols, and omens of the universe, then we see how it's literally all there to guide us if we're willing to open our eyes to the possibility that everything is a miracle. The alternative is that nothing is a miracle. Jared?
And it's funny that she popped in the room right in that moment, because she just popped in my head right at that moment, just to honor and look back and reflect it at the contribution that she made to it. I got to a point where I was stuck and was trying to figure out how to present this all in one simple platform. And she's like, "Oh, I got a program for that." Like, no problem. And she took the songs that were made available on madhattermusic.org, and she said, "Okay, let's do this." And she ordered them and presented it in such a way that it's just real easy, click, stream, listen to the whole album, and you just feel it. And a wonderful contribution.
Huge.
Wonderful contribution. And her song's amazing too.
Yes, amazing. Janine Emily, thank you so much for hosting the playlist, and for also in advance hosting Album22.2, because we're going to build it in the same place so that all of the work of the Album22 originals is featured as well as built on. So then it's a larger perspective of the songs to be able to choose from. So it's a collection that grows and stays alive, rather than being something of the past that just gets left there when the next project takes over. Janine Emily, I see you're unmuted. How are you?
Oh, thank you so much. I am so proud of you guys. Thank you. I'm sorry I'm late. I was in another meeting and couldn't wait to get off so I can join you guys.
Yeah, well, we're so glad that you could, and huge thank you and shout out to all of the support that you gave through the project, for the meetings you showed up to, for the support you offered Jared, for hosting, for all that you brought to the table, and for the interview that we did as well. So thank you for being willing to put your hand up and actually take advantage of an opportunity, because not everyone does. And this is the thing. It's just like, that was free advertising, to be able to get an interview. And it's just like, some do and some don't. And we have to ask ourselves why. What are we going to prioritize?
Yeah, I agree.
So thank you for showing up, and also for keeping the project alive. So even if an opportunity was missed before, it doesn't mean the door was closed.
Yes, however I can help. I'm your gal. I'm here now.
Awesome.
Well, you say that, and Jay Ghani shows up too, over in Africa representing. How are you?
I'm doing good. How is everyone else doing here?
Very good.
Good. I'm sorry I'm late. I got this email very late. I was really busy during the day, but I'm so glad I could catch up.
Yeah. Well,
Glad to be here.
Day for you. Sorry, Jared, what?
I just said I'm glad I could be here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Glad.
Amazing. So what I feel like the best thing for us to really do in this moment is to talk about the reason I brought up the DISC personality assessment before we had more amazing individuals join us. And that was because there was a point where Jared called me on my ornery behavior, because I can be very direct, because it's like there's a magic moves fast is my experience. And this may sound crazy, but that by definition is different. And ultimately, magic moves fast, which simply means the magic of the moment, which is the now, where all time is happening. No past, present, or there's no past or future. It's all now. And if we look at it from that way, magic moves fast, so you have to move fast to keep up with the magic, is my experience. So it's just like sometimes the conversation ends here and then the next one begins. And so we have to, in order to follow the magic of the moment, sometimes be short and specific and to the point. If anyone's familiar with the SMART archetype or the SMART acronym, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. So you want your goal setting to be smart. You want, what you're doing is just keep it specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-bound. So sometimes I can be a little direct, and I understand that it may come across as being insensitive, which is more kind of like a D in the personality assessment, which is why I mentioned it. And it's just like sometimes I can be really like, I can be cutting, but not because I'm meaning to, just because it's like I got to get through the BS to get where I need to get to. And so we need to just go there quickly and then like do damage control sometimes, but not everyone can take that. And so I bring that up because I do my best, but sometimes the truth can be cutting. And I don't mean for it ever to be cutting in a bad way, but it's just like sometimes we got to cut through those gestalts, which are the belief systems or the paradigms that are layered ideas on top of one another. And so I appreciate, Jared, you for having the thick skin to take the way that I work sometimes and to love me through it, because that unconditional acceptance allowed us both to transform our self-image, to be able to announce that we were doing this project with less resistance and more assuredness that we could do it because we already had done it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's that harkens back to the experience we all had with Rimini, where she walked us through just envisioning that future as if we were in the future, looking back, and what are the steps we need to take to get there. And I remember, just that whole experience of stepping back and looking into what was in front of me. And there was a whole bunch of stuff just on the side, just clutter that really wasn't important and in my way. And other than that, it was a broad road that was really clear that this is the direction you need to take, and this is the direction everybody needs to go in, and this is what's going to come of these efforts. And it's really we released this in July, but it's really on the cusp of doing so much more than what we were able to do in July. And I'm very, very excited about how things are coming and how things are going and where things are going to be, because of the energy and the effort and the focus that we're putting into it to continue to live and breathe and to take on new life and take on new challenges, really. Mm-hmm. Focusing on, so the initial album was focused on finding purpose in life. And my work with madhattermusic.org was all around the concept of bringing information about mental health. My brother Will struggles with schizoaffective disorder, and that's something that kind of trapped him in his room and trapped him in his mind, and he'd get stuck in these negative thought patterns and negative thought cycles. And I took it upon myself to breathe positivity into him, and we worked together with music, and we started doing that together. And then I had a friend that was a guitarist, and I was like, hey, do you want to come play with us? And so we did some songs, and we recorded songs just on our cell phones, just like off the cuff. And we would play a song off the cuff. Like, I picked up the bass and started learning it a couple months before, but he'd been playing guitar for years, and we were just able to harmonize really well together. And then Will would come in singing a poem that we'd written together, and it would just form this beautiful piece of music. This guy's like, wow, this doesn't happen like this. He's like, I've been in bands a lot, and this kind of thing doesn't just happen all the time. but it did for us. Like every time we sat down to practice, we'd have like new songs and just keep going. He's like, wow, you guys really need to record these and get this out. But I'm not the one to do it, so he stepped out. And right as he stepped out, we're like, oh no, the universe, the world is crashing down on us. And I'd started madhattermusic.org because I wanted to reach out to other musicians who had that same feeling and push to help draw people in to the resources for mental health. Just because so much of it is easy to find, click on Google and search, but so much of it is contradictory and so much is hard to sift through all the garbage that's out there. I mean, there's a lot of professional good information, but there's also a lot of professional good information that was great like 10 years ago. And all of it's on the web, and it's like finding what's relevant and what works for an individual is challenging. So we got connected to NAMI. We got connected to some of the other resources for preventing suicide. And one of the reasons we focused on suicide prevention is because with Will's disorder, the majority of people that are diagnosed as young as he was end up suiciding out of life and end up taking the short way out. And so the goal in our family and the whole reason Will and I started working on music together was to help Will get to 24. And helping Will get to 24, his mind would change enough, he could adapt enough, his medicines would work enough. At 24, the doctors are saying that his hormones would calm down enough, that everything would work in synchronicity to be able to he had a better chance of carrying out his life. And I thought, okay, well, that was our initial goal. And then, so bringing that together with these resources that he knew about and had available to him through all of his work and dealing with his illness. We brought that together with musicians, and we started collecting all these musicians. And then we brought all these musicians together and said, okay, I contacted as many as I could and said, okay, we're going to do something. We're going to come together and make something happen in the world. And like Laura says, this is what kind of organically grew out of it. It was a thought that we'd had, a thought that many had on their own. I know Janine Emily has a project that she's working on, a similar compilation project. And that's also something that she was like, okay, yes, and jumped in on this too. And it's like people from all over the world came together to support each other, to lift each other. And when we lift each other up, we're lifted. When we stick out a hand to lift up our friends, we can't help but be lifted up at the same time. And it's such an amazing experience to be part of that synergy and to just feel that growth and that excitement. So I don't know, I'm kind of scattered and all over, but starting with madhattermusic.org, we came back in and we said, okay, that's where I got the people. That's where I brought these artists from. It's because they'd already stood up to say, yes, count me as a voice to support finding resources and helping people when they need it. And so they were already standing up and being counted, and then coming together to stand up a little bit louder, to stand up a little bit stronger, to stand up together. That's where Album 22 was born.
So amazing. Well, thank you for making me an album mama, because that is an amazing experience. And I haven't ever had children of my own, because I feel like there are a lot of children in this world that could use some parenting. And I don't just mean the ones that are under 18. It's like we've all got inner children. And I was just this little picture is me when I was like in 1992, and I'm an 87 model. So it's just like I was like 5, like she sometimes runs this machine, like this inner kingdom. Sometimes she's the one that's making decisions for us, and it's just like, honey, you need to go have some fun, and I'm going to take over, and I'm going to call down the compassionate king and the kind queen from the ivory tower they got banished to before they had a role or knew what to do, or that they had actually inherited reign. And then I'm going to put them on there, and you just go play or just do something that makes you feel safe, so that then we can be safe enough to actually create something better instead of needing to react. Because when she's on the throne, the little 5-year-old, it's just like, I'm not able to think as big because you can't, the whole world seems way too big when you're 5. But like, as we get a little taller and older with more experience behind us, then, you know, we can make more responsible choices because we're able to respond in a way that we couldn't before we had the awareness that we could, because we did it. So Jared, we did it, and we didn't do it alone. In fact, we grew a team of at least 22. I don't know the specific number just yet because each song had at least one contributor, right? Some, like in Alex Bouyer's song, he had a whole choir. So there were a lot of people just in his video alone. And in the scheme of things, all of them technically are part of Album 22. So if you haven't checked out Album 22, definitely do. Album22.2 is where you can do that, or you can go to ljeh.ca, and then I have a page called Album22.2 that gives you the details about this project. But with this mental health piece, I do believe that there is a lot to this that we're not talking about on a cultural level, which is the cult you rally with BS belief systems that we have shared agreement with, which have created layers over top of who we really are. And I believe that mental health is keeping us disconnected from the heart, which is how we actually feel truth and call ourselves present. And if we're in our head and we're throwing water onto a disordered space, or chemical water, because that's what the drugs would be then, it's just like, how is that going to order something that was disordered? The space is disordered. Don't just flood it. What if we actually help deal with it? So flooding it is a symbolically befitting use of reference, because water is about emotions, and that's where we have to really start moving. What do you?
I think that's a great segue into exactly the theme and the topic around Album 22.2, and it's focused on healing the wounded child. There's wounded children, like you just said, within ourselves, and for years, for 30 years of my life, almost 30 years of my life, I was trapped in my wounded childhood. I suffered some trauma, and it was trauma that blinded me to a lot of things. It closed me off from a lot of things that I really loved and enjoyed. It was just like, it made me blind in so many ways. And it wasn't until I worked through the process of understanding myself, and worked through the process of healing that wounded child within me, that I wasn't able to wake up and stand up and become who I am, and become who God intended me to be, and who I am here to be. And that's, I couldn't fulfill my purpose until I went through that process of dealing with the garbage that comes from growing up. And it's all a process that everybody needs to go through at some point or another. And I thought I'd done it all in my 20s. I was like, okay, I know there's some messed up things that happened in my life. I just gotta focus and get past all that. And I thought I did great. And it wasn't until I was turning 40 that I woke up to this other trauma that I totally suppressed. And when I woke up to it, I thought, okay, I need help. I can't do this alone. And I started looking for help outside of myself, and I got some really great counseling. And it was awesome because my counselor just graduated college. She'd just gotten her degree. And with that process was her mind was really open to, you know what, just because this is what the textbooks say and this is what their experience is, that's not the end all be all. And I'm just here to listen and to really validate you. And it was that validation that really opened my eyes to the reality that I had closed off and invalidated myself. I closed off and invalidated myself because of things other people did to me. But healing that hurt and healing that pain enabled me to step up, to stand up and to say, hey, I'm going to hold up this flag of rallying cry with my friend Laura. We're going to hold this flag together, and we're going to bring people together. And I didn't know what I was doing in the beginning. I had I had a dream, I had a push, I had this magnetic pull on my heart that says, this is where you need to go. And there wasn't anything else in my life that I could say was more important than that pull on me at that time. And it really took center stage in my life just for that process of time that we were working on album 22. It just became very central and integral into a lot of what I did and what I focused on. And really being able to turn around and put that energy back into another album project. I wanted to just run and jump and get it out as fast as we could. And Laura said, you know what, look, let's not be hasty, because haste will make waste, and it won't get us to where we want to be. And she said, you know, we're helping to set this up. Let's set it up as an anniversary album. Let's set it up as a commemorative, something where we're bringing together the originals that contributed to the first album, also looking out into the world to bring in more artists and add another component to it. You know, if there's youth that have a desire and a dream and a goal and a passion to get into music, like help them align with that and help them to find a leg in or an in somewhere where they can be a part of this family that's been cultivated. And it's really beautiful vision, beautiful dreams. And it's becoming a beautiful reality. And that's, you know, bringing people together from all over the world. If somebody would have told me that I would be part of bringing people together from all over the world to inspire music creation, to inspire using music as really a weapon in the war on the soul for good. That to me, like, that is my purpose. That is my purpose, and that is why I'm here. And I love having that, because I didn't have that for all those years in my life leading up to 40 years old. I didn't have a purpose. I was a great father. I was a good husband. I had those purposes in life, and that was my focus. But as far as really what am I passionate about, what am I going to dig into, and what am I going to do to make the world a better place and to leave a legacy here, I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I did in my heart. My heart knew all along what my purpose was. And it was like Laura says, going back to that heart center, finding myself in my heart, we were able to pull that out. And it's not about me. It's not about Laura. It's not about the individual artists that contributed. It's about everybody coming together to contribute, to make something happen. The goal is not that we make album 22 the biggest thing in the world. The goal is that we make album 22 a model for others to follow, of saying, hey, we have a cause, we have a purpose. There's so many causes and purposes to the music that's made popular in today's culture, culturally popular BS that goes into tearing people down, tearing down the individual, looking into, you know, frequency, and looking into figuring out how to make music that lifts and builds people who listen to it. They're all my favorites. I like some more than others, but they're all my favorites, all the songs on the album. And I really, one of the things that's sticking out to me right now is Greenness's song. Greenness has a song that is about a funeral for a friend that she had plans to get together with, but who decided to cut her life short. And it's such a happy and upbeat song. And it focuses on so much of the positive of what this friend had to offer. And at the same time, you know, just the beauty of the experience of being able to say goodbye. But at the same time, how much better would it have been if their friend was still here? I mean, the feeling that comes with that is just that positivity of, like so many people want to focus on the negative and focus on the drama. And then let's focus on the positive. Let's focus on the positive side of life, finding purpose, finding your specific purpose. And that, like Laura was saying, that was how we ordered and organized the album, is so that hero's journey, that specific journey to finding purpose, would be inspired throughout the course of listening to the songs. And I think that intention and that direct energy that we put into organizing that music in that way, it wasn't all music that was written in the moment. There was songs that came out of that experience that aren't a part of it yet. I would love to see those songs become a part of our next project. I would love to be able to promote and build and grow as big as I can the people who've come together to support this. And that's my heart, and that's my intention, is to just really build this influence on the world. I would love to see copycats. I'd love to see people chasing down this idea of, okay, we're going to make the world a better place, so we're going to come up with a compilation album with artists from all over the world to inspire people to, pick up trash, or, like do something that makes the world a better place, whether it's something simple or it's something internal. The healing the inner child, healing the wounded child. There's a wounded child within us, and there are wounded children throughout. There's a major problem in the world where, slavery is outlawed everywhere, but there are more slaves in this time in history than there ever has been. And it's through deception, it's through mental manipulation, it's through actual physical force that these people are made and maintained in involuntary servitude. And the world won't see it. The world can't see it. When they're dealing with your own demons, when they're dealing with your own wounded child, looking out and seeing another wounded child, it's one of those things that you're blind to. And some can see it, some can see it on some levels. But until you go through and do the work and find that wounded inside of you and help that child to heal, that gives us a better perspective and better ability to see the damage and the hurt in the world, and to directly combat the influences that make that industry supported. And so it's really exciting to be able to join hands together with all of these same artists again, and with new artists, to say enough's enough. We're going to heal the wounded child within us, and we're going to look to heal the wounded children in the world, because the world is in desperate need of that energy being carried forth. Just like that snowball we started with, finding purpose in life, we're going to build onto it with the next layer, which is healing the wounded child, which is really kind of an inner layer. It's like a reverse onion, but a snowball. Like inside, outside, it's growing. And we're going to keep growing it with projects like this, because there's no reason for any of it to stop ever. It's something that feels good. It's something that feels right. Someday down the road, it might be something that we turn into something that can carry us. But at the same time, that's not the intention. That's not the energy. The intention and the energy is to stand as a lighthouse, to show the way, to bring us back to our heart center, to help us reflect out into the world the light that we have within us. We are powerful beings. We are powerful people. We have a mission and a calling to stand as witnesses, to stand as beacons of warning, to stand as a light, to show the way. And the way is within.
I feel like I've just been to church. This is amazing. That was excellent. That was seriously. But like my soul worships in my temple every day. Like yours too, all of us. Like literally, we get to like walk around this world in a temple, and we don't take the moment to be as precious and as sacred until we do. And then we have an obligation, without being in the irresponsible, dysfunctional aspect of it, to pass that on by being that beacon. So yes, Album 22.2 is going to be exactly what we decide for it to be. And I believe that we can make this whole experience part of the tipping point in collective consciousness, because by doing it on a small scale, in the microcosmic element of the universe, then we're actually doing it on the macro too. Heal ourselves, heal the problem. We are the problem. Like if we, there's that whole like run away, and it's just like, well, what are you running to? Because if you run away, it's following you. And then when you get there, what are you going to do? Where's there if you were just running away from what, and is what coming after you? And get the details. Smart, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time bound. If we are smart about things, then we can really call ourselves present into this now, which is the newly ordered world that we created ahead of time by showing up as kings and queens and who we wished we'd been at the end of our lives when we look back and see what we could have chose now. Well, let's just do it. Let's create it ahead of time. Let's not just pretend that we did, let's do it. We are doing it. And that's the exciting thing. And it's just like this last project that we worked on, and now this one too. It's just like that transformed my self-image totally. Yes. Janine Emily says, Jared, what an amazing transparent testimony. Thank you, my friend. Aw. Janine, if anybody has anything you want to say to what has been said or shared so far, definitely please just feel free to unmute yourself, and that's your signal that you are wanting the floor. And that's how conscious conversation in a meeting space takes place. We just look for where the energy is ready to move, and then we move it there until then it's ready to move somewhere else, which is riding the magic of the moment. Right? And Jazz is moving her neck because it's just like, this is where the throat chakra and the third eye and the crown, the heart, which is the bridge between the higher level, that's where we receive the inspired idea to then have to make it down through the heart, which is the bridge into the physical reality where the womb space actually allows us to give birth to ourselves. So let's just create the inspired idea that we can plant as a seed in our own mind, because this is the real estate that is being fought for right now. And so if we create ahead of time that which we wish that we would have got to experience in retrospect later, what if we just create it ahead of time now and then start walking into it? So on January 29th, if you're local to Toronto, in fact, I will be dressing like a queen and going to Queen's Park with potentially others who may wish to assemble at 2:00. So feel free to also come should you wish to be the one that you've been waiting for, as we are all for each other and ourselves first and foremost, because if we look after our relationship within, we will not go without, which is what this has all been about. And yet also, if we do not build the relationships on the outside, it's far more lonely to be an expert in an ivory tower no one knows of. Janine.
So we're in our junior year of COVID, and I think back to 2020 when my song Quiet Warrior began. And that's the song that's on your first compilation. And 2020 was a really hard year for me, to say the least. And I was October sitting there in a deep depression. And that's where Quiet Warrior started, with my co-writer who's in Australia, Amy Francis, who was also having a really hard time. And it's amazing, you know, Jared, you had mentioned music, Laura, you've mentioned music, just how important it is, right? And you just don't know, you know, I don't know how to explain this, but like October was the catalyst for changing my entire life, really. And so now I'm sitting here and I'm actually really proud to say that Quiet Warrior is going to be performed on The Voice. We got selected as one of the songs. And I'm not saying that to like, you know, pat myself on the back. I'm saying you just never know, like that song came out of deep mourning, I guess, for the past, you know, because, you know, we can't go back, but we certainly can go forward, right? So I'm sitting here now, like October was, for those of you who don't know me, I was in Washington at the time, miserable, and I decided to sell my house. I had to first get it ready, sell it, move cross country all by myself to Texas. And I've never looked back since. And music has got me through this. You know, music and Jesus. That's what I tell people.
Yes.
So I just wanted to share because, you know, sometimes the best of the best songs come from a place of complete transparency and authenticity that is deep rooted in pain, but pain sometimes forces us to look at ourselves and to grow and to transform our minds, right? Because that's where it starts. So anyways, I just wanted to share that, and because I love you guys, and I'm sorry that I haven't been able to be on any other calls until now.
You're good. You're good, Janina. Like I am so excited for your song to be more public and to be, you know, that is part of Album 22, and it's something that's growing, and that's really, I'm very excited to see that energy growing in the world, because the songs that are part of Album 22 are something that needs to be shared, something that needs to be heard, and your song is definitely one that needs to be shared and heard. So.
Oh.
Love it. Oh, I so love it. Yes, I was trying to. I was saying, can we get that to be the Peaceful Inner Warriors song? How do we change that to be the song too? Because it was just like, that's so perfect. Definitely check out Quiet Warrior. I do absolutely love the fact that we have such incredible artists that came together because they knew Jared or myself, but I'm pretty sure pretty much everyone other than Denise was brought there by you, Jared. So that was like hats off to the Mad Hatter music, man. And that's so brilliant. I love that. I would love to hear tonight. I wanted to make sure we scheduled for an hour and a half. I want to make sure that we honor all of our time. I want to know if anybody has any questions that you might want to have covered specifically. I know that tonight is about mental health, and we haven't really specifically talked about mental health, but that's the thing. We're not keeping bound to a mental box or a pattern. We're actually moving into the heart, which is how we harmonize humanity, with the extra E for all hues included. And so Jazz and Devo said this is the first we are hearing of this project, and we cannot wait to listen to Album 22. And we're so excited for when you do and when you share your favorite songs with others who don't know about it either. And there's a mentorship component to this that we wanted to bring in so that it truly was a group and communal experience, because there is power in the mastermind and leverage. And so we're really capitalizing on that. And so we wanted to make it so that when you participate, when you submit a song, you also actually offer a skill, a secret, something that you wish for others to be aware of, that you feel was an incredibly valuable lesson that you may have paid a lot of money to be able to learn, or time, energy, effort, attention. Those are team members. Time, energy, effort, attention, and money. Those are your team players, and you may have invested a lot of your team in order to gain or glean that insight to be seen by others that hear it then from you for the first time, because they didn't have to climb the certain way that you did in order to be able to actually come back into the present moment. Thank you, Olga. It's great for you to be here as well. And I appreciate that you are here and tuning in, and we're just kind of checking in. How's it going?
Hi, Laura. All is well. Please continue.
Beautiful. All right. Well, it's awesome for you to be here. And so if you have anything you want to contribute, just unmute yourself. But otherwise, if you stay muted until you have something to say, then it'll be easier to monitor without people having to raise their hands. Other than Jared, which I appreciate because we are co-hosting this. I just happen to talk a lot more than most.
That's a good way to put it.
And sometimes I apologize, and then other times I just shamelessly say I do my best to pay attention when someone else has something to say, and if that is desirous of happening, I make space for it to happen. But there's also then the part of me that fills the space when others aren't trying to, as we all do. Universal, or the law of the vacuum, if you've heard of it. Every empty space will be filled either intentionally or unintentionally, which is why we must create the image of what we wish to create now, so that way, when the universe fills back in that which we made way for, then we actually have something positive to be able to strive towards. Because if we know where we're going, then we can actually get there, compared to when Alice asked the Cheshire Cat, you know, when he said, "Where are you going?" And she said, I don't know. And he said, "Any road will take you there. If you don't know where you're going, what does it matter? Just enjoy the journey." Right? Like, are we focused? Are we going in the direction that we want to go?
That's really great.
Mary, do you have anything else that you want to say based on everything you've heard tonight, or that you just wanted to bring into the conversation?
Yeah, I just loved. I never really realized you guys had that going on, you and Jared, right?
Yeah.
And that's amazing. Like, I'm just so excited, like, just to see how this goes. And it just made me realize, like, you know, just like, you don't know where you're going. You know, you have an intention, but you don't know exactly where it's going to go. But you have your intention, right? So it's like, you're just so open to, like, any the possibility of, you know, your intention, and that's when miracles start showing up. You know, like, it's like, you know, my whole life has been miracles until this COVID kind of stuff happened, and I've been, you know, in top leader programs, and I've been coaches and everything, and just this is so, like, it just makes me feel so like, I'm at home. You know what I mean? Because I've just been missing that for, like, this last 2 years, like, you know, creating, you know what I mean? Because this whole world has been, you know, there hasn't been that kind of opportunity to do that, right? To create. You've just been like in your head, you know? And it does come from your heart, and just, like, you know, creating from there. And, you know, today I caused a miracle for my daughter today. Well, not just me, it's the whole, it's my guides, it's my, you know, it's my, like, just my, you know, the power of intention, and the power of, like, you know, prayer, and, you know, raising my, my vibration. And I sent quantum healing, and I sent, you know, quantum healing and Reiki. And my daughter's eye came from a level 40 to a level 20. So I was, like, crying. I was on the farm here. So I was like, you know, like, everything. I was just shedding off all this stuff, you know, I just let it be. And I just cried it all the way down to the end of the street. You know, it was just like, and my daughter called me back and said her eye is better. And, you know, that's better than not being better. So, yeah. So, you know, it's being in this kind of space that really, it actually has my life work. You know what I mean? It has my life, you know, flow to, you know, and then I can actually fill my cup up, and then I can give to other people, because there's so many people that are, that I've always wanted to make a difference. I've always I've been in the Landmark from year 2000 and till now. So Landmark education. And I've always wanted to make a difference. And I just, and then just during COVID, and you guys came in my life at this time, you know what I mean? It was like, see, you ask and it shall be,
Yes. Amen.
Yeah. So thank you so much. You guys are amazing. I can't even wait.
Yay. Well,
thank you.
You're here. We're so glad you're here and that it does inspire your creativity.
Yeah. And, that's a ripple effect. And you do that for me. And then I walk out and, and I save another life. My friend, she helped people for suicide awareness too. And she's got ALS right now, my friend. And in COVID, she's, you know what I mean? So when he told me about suicide awareness, I'm like, oh my God, that my friend would be so proud of Jared. Wow, that's amazing for what he's up to, and, everybody needs that, because even the farm I live on right now, the project during COVID, because I wanted to get out of my head about that. And I created, I made a tiny home out of a bus without even knowing what to do. And so the guy on the here, he I didn't know that the last week he tried to commit suicide. So I was like, oh my God, I came at the right time for this guy. You know what I mean? And I just noticed these things and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I was here for him, Yeah. So it's just, that's the way, that's what makes me feel like living, is when I can make a difference. Is when we can't make a difference, we're just going on with life and just, and everybody wants to make a difference. They don't always say it, but maybe, once they get the taste of it, they don't want to go any other way. It's like a high,
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's like this zone you get to, right? And it's like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And you're such a great guy. I can just see just that your spirit and what you're going to do for the world. And that's the thing. We are the ones that feed off of each other. And so my listening of you, and then your listening of you're going to start to build that listening of yourself even more, because we have a listening of you one way, and we're going to hold you to that,
That's amazing.
So great.
Thank you, Mary. Truly.
Yeah.
And thank you for being part of the ripple effect and understanding how it works, because what is impressed is expressed. So what we actually take into the well of us is what then we can share with the world, compared to if we're putting trash into the inner kingdom, then we're closing off rooms because we're embarrassed about how we've treated the space, because respect needs to be foundational in the whole journey of transformation. Because when we don't respect ourself or ourselves, self being CELL-F, my adaptation for what it means to actually either fill ourselves with faith or fear. Fear being false emotion appearing real, or false evidence appearing real, feels very real, but is not even here, because regret is about the past and anxiety is about the future. And if we're in the not now, we have no power where we are. So if we call our power back when we're feeling anxious or regretful, and we change the story, then we can actually start writing the script that we wish to live, instead of having someone else pre-script what we need to take in order to transform our lives, when that is only ever, advice is only ever the best recommendation someone thinks that might work well for you based on what they're familiar with, based on your circumstance. But they're not in your body, they're not in my body, they're in their body. They need to look after their body. I need to look after my body. You need to look after your body. And if we all look after our body, every body is looked after. We have this whole notion about putting others first, right? And especially being Canadian, many of us, we have a very compassionate and cordial culture that says we need to apologize for everything, including breathing at times. You know what I mean? Oh, I'm sorry, did I take some air from you? And it's just like that's kind of the I'm sorry culture that we are, which is why our country has been MK Ultra even more so. And Olga about tunes in and then unmutes because I know she's got a lot to be able to share on that topic. But yeah, absolutely. Olga, what would you like to contribute? You're muted though. Sorry, darling.
I would like to say something about just what you said. We apologize for breathing your air. And I want to defend that way of doing for us Canadians, that actually we are right and we are true sovereign. And I'll tell you why. Sovereign represents, as you know, and most of the people know, is the only authority you respect is the authority over your own self and your property. But with this and respect the authority of the next sovereign next to you, but not necessarily his or her authorities over you. You just have respect between the two. That's my definition of sovereign authority. But at the same time, authority comes with a lot of responsibility, meaning responsibility for your own self, responsibility for your action, and responsibility of protecting your own property, which includes physical property. Your body is your property, and also minor children are under your property, and you're the protector, the only protector. No government, nobody else. Now, say some other sovereign feels that I've done something wrong, and I don't feel I did nothing wrong, and in order there is apology. In this situation, there is no apology. That other sovereign supposed to have responsibility of their own property to take care, to cover for. I'm going to what you just said is next. Okay? Now, someone stepped on my toes and I say, I'm sorry. Why? Because I did not take responsibility of my property. I allow someone to affect my property, and I apologize for not taking responsibility. So if we go by this line, us Canadians are very much sovereign people by using this line often. Someone steps on your toes and you say, I'm sorry. Someone closes the door in front of you and you say, I'm sorry, I'm also supposed to get it. With this, I yelled. I hope I made a point.
Yeah, it's just, but like what I loved is that you said, I'm sorry, and then the next thing. You didn't stop at I'm sorry specifically. And I think that's the difference between one who is using I'm sorry as an apology and also statement that I am here. I'm sorry that you didn't see my foot there, but it was there. And you're violating my space and my boundaries.
It is my responsibility. I did not protect my property. Me, the sovereign, I did not take care to protect my property, not to step there, to give you opportunity to step on my toes. I'm sorry for that, for not taking responsibility. But if I felt I did nothing wrong to you, and you feel that by some ways I did something to you, the next sovereign, I will not apologize because I did not do anything on purpose to you, and you feel you're affected in any way, that's your responsibility to take care of your actions or your property. See where we're going with this one? If we understand this, we are good with sovereignty and natural law.
So if we take
By the way, these are not my lines. These are Mark Passio.
Mark Bassio?
Mark Passio, yeah.
If you want to write his name in the comments, Olga, then others may be interested. Robin said it was nice to be here. I have to go. Freedom is fussy and needs her mama. Totally understand. Thank you for showing up, Robin. And now that you have had freedom, we'll look forward to scheduling that songwriting workshop, which Robin had mentioned last year before she was a mama, when she was still expecting, that she would lead that. And so looking forward to having that workshop take place sometime before January, or before, not January, before June, where is going to be the deadline for the July 22nd launch of the playlist with the songs on Album22.2. So we're looking for artists to do the workshop to really help pour into the others. And in the next couple months, we're also going on that journey inward. I am sharing a lot of content to really take you on a journey into who and whose you are, without that being any way dogmatic. I say, let's take God out of the box, and you just grand overall designer, creator, source, whatever you believe in, let that be the foundation that you stand on as the platform that you use to keep yourself feeling safe, and let the walls that used to keep us feeling safely separate be what then are united and dropped, so that then they can become bridges and we can walk to each other easier, and we've got more ground to use as the stage, which we are all players on. So thank you, Mark Passio on sovereignty. Olga, thank you for sharing that. If anyone's interested, I do believe that it is important for us to claim our rights and be able to stand, and that is part of what we do with our music too. So we are really looking for the empowerment of ourselves. I have a little piece to share too, please, Jay Gani. Well, then unmute yourself, man, and let's hear, because we're looking forward to it, if you don't mind.
Thank you. Well, it's actually 2 a.m. in the morning, but I'm still glad I'm up for this meeting. And like I said before,
absolute trooper.
I didn't know there was a meeting. Hello?
I just said absolute trooper you are for showing up at this time in the morning. So thank you.
And I enjoy this. Don't worry, I really enjoy this.
Awesome.
And the reason why I never want to miss this meeting is just because of the way I pick up seeds of good messages. You know, inspirations that just makes us better people. Yeah, I really love and I appreciate being part of this team.
Yay!
And I'm quite busy. I'm quite a busy person, but there is a room in my heart for this beloved team, because it's natural for me to just share about album 2022 wherever I go. Okay?
Right on.
So I have a piece of idea about where our songs go, like the promotion, okay? I know there are so many ways music is promoted today, but I'm actually thinking a little bit backwards, because, you know, in history, we get answers, okay? It's about how we give our songs out there, okay? Like an example, I was just thinking about this, okay? Putting back this album on CDs, pen drives, and all these hardware copies, okay, where we can add some gifts and present it to our neighbors, hospitals, you know, schools, and all these places where we have people who would actually pick up something from the message we have on in music. You know, it's something I just thought to share, because our songs are supposed to physically hit someone, you know, with a smile, on, you know, presenting our gifts with a smile makes a lot of change, because the person gets to see it physically, and they get a message even in your presence before they go on the, you know, the album to listen to more songs. And this is how you become really a big part of people's memory, you know. So that is what I just have to add up, you know.
Great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Huge thank you. And I was going to say something. Jared, did you have something you wanted to contribute with the album experience, because we were going to do CDs with the last one, but then it ended up that like my computer doesn't even have a driver. So then we were looking at cost effectiveness, and we're really more so we've used organic marketing for the first album, and so it may not have gone too big or done too well specifically by appearance.
There's still more to come. There's still a lot more to come. There's so my band Know Our Dream, we have an album called Within that we are releasing on February 22nd. And it's something that it was a date inspired by Laura. And it's also just music that we've been working on for almost a year. Just really trying to come up with a great sound that we have. This is some of our best work yet, and we're pretty excited to release that. But along with releasing that album, our advertisements are going to feature a nod and a mention to Album 22, and that is that we're a part of this, and there's free music available for download. There's stream this album freely and come listen to it and be uplifted. So there's going to be a portion of some of our advertisement that's going out that is going to be directly targeted at Album 22.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's been organic, but it's been put on my heart to step it up.
Woo!
To step it up because there is so much value there. So that's part of our project that we're working on.
Yeah, well, one of the ideas that I have in terms of actually getting the music into people's minds and hearts is to actually have some movement classes and exercise programs or experiences where we combine some of the higher level ideas and insights with movement so that we can actually be honoring ourselves while we're moving to some of the songs and go through the journey, and then we can do it in community even. And that is an idea that I'm working with, and then I'm also wanting to talk with different yoga instructors and different exercise instructors about the possibility of using some of the songs from Album 22 plus some of the songs from Album 22.2. And then once we've actually integrated our playlist into the playlists of some of the men and women that are leading men and women through their exercise classes and hear that catchy new song, then they grab that and hear that there's 22 other songs from the first album or the 21 other songs from the first one, and then there's all of these other ones that will come out in July 2022 too. Wow. So that's kind of the intention, and the enthusiasm is a bit of a play because I'm a bit of a child with my energy in terms of I like to get really excited and share that excitement. But what I've learned is that if we're sharing from a triggered place, as much as it may be exciting for us, and it might be delightful for you to receive too, if you have an aspect of yourself that's intimidated by the vulnerability that comes with that sense of elevation, then you may not actually be able to receive the information that's shared in that elevated state because you don't feel safe enough to do so. So really becoming clear about the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system and how we actually calm ourselves so that we can be fully present and then actually be able to share a message that is able to be received. Because it's like at many of these rallies, it's like when people are screaming and their enthusiasm and their passion is really intense, it isn't always fully received the way that it could be if they weren't triggering the nervous systems of others. Yet the triggering of nervous systems in others is very important for the activating that is required for the collective shift in consciousness that we're going through. Did you have your hand up, Jared?
No, we're just making an adjustment.
Fair. All right. Well, adjustments are always required, which happened with the date as to when we were going to release it, because February 2022 was when we were originally going to do it. And then with my own legal situation with the summons my person got for speaking at a rally in April last year, and everything I've been working on, which includes 15 lawful notices, including a claim against the man acting as prosecutor because he's acting, and he, the man, needs to be the one that is held liable, just as with everyone that is acting in the public needs to be held liable in their private capacity, which is how I believe we shift things. Because if we are absconding personal responsibility and we put a suit on and then are protected from all liability, there's no need for us to be as great as what we could be if we were held liable all the time, which is why, you know, there is a very steep cost that comes with being independent the way that we are, or sovereign, as Olga had put into the meeting. And sovereign means able to operate of your own rule, under your own jurisdiction, juris being Latin for of right or of law, and diction being choice of words and phrases in speech and writing. So I understand means I stand under your rules that you spoke or wrote. And I say, no, as a sovereign, I stand under my own thanks, and I claim the right to lawfully self-govern. And that means that any government that tries to impose their rules on my kingdom is de facto, which means they're inheriting rule over something that is not theirs. So, Jared, you're saying I live between American Fork, Utah, and Kelso, Washington, traveling between these places. Yes, once a week, literally, this man either flies or drives to go see his kids in another state. And he also got married between the last album and this one to a beautiful woman named Delta. So we've got the variant represented in a much more beautiful package. And got to throw a little joke in there once in a while. But a lot changed in between the last album and this album on a personal level for you, with all of my summons, which that took us down a rabbit hole. But I was just basically trying to say that, you know, I had so much going on, and Jared got married and then has now, you know, states to travel between weekly, in between the last album when we launched it and then this one. So it has been organic marketing up until this point, but our intention, now that, you know, I'm still dealing with my situation, the judge hasn't shown the last 2 times if anyone's interested, and basically it's been adjourned to February 11th. So we'll see the next part, but I've learned a tremendous amount, and so I'm grateful it's been dragged out. And ultimately, I'm going to share more of that piece, but we moved the deadline so it wasn't just about a project, because it's about the community and the transformation that each of us are going through as we actually put this together. Because that video that the series that I put together about the sacred sojourn of the soul and the transformation of self-image actually requires us be able to understand the process that we're maneuvering, to be able to really take it to a higher level more consciously, which is what we're doing through action. So Jared, you're smiling, and I feel like you've got something to contribute here.
I love it. Yeah, exactly. It's through action and intention. I love what you were saying. I was just smiling because I totally agree.
Okay, awesome. Well, not just because we totally agree, but that we can work together and we can come together. And even when we don't agree, you know, we can still be together. We can still share love, and we can still share common unity of community. So I am mindful of the fact we're coming on the 1.5 hour mark. And I want to make sure that if anyone else does have a contribution that you want to put forward today, I would love to hear. And ultimately, we moved that deadline so that it's not about the project, it is about the transformation, which means that we actually become our own project of sorts. But in the scheme of things, we bring ourselves everywhere with ourselves. So if we don't love ourselves to the very best of our ability, then how can we possibly love anyone else to the best of our ability when we don't have that pure love inside, because we haven't trained ourselves to give it to ourselves? So how it's foreign. How do you give love if you don't ever give it to yourself, you know? So let's really work on being kind to ourselves in the time until the next event. And if you are local to Port Dover, January 16th at 2 p.m., I will be going to Port Dover to the Cure. And I will not be donning a gown or dressing up as a queen as such specifically, but it is peer support on the pier. So there's benches out there and it's a beautiful view, and I'm hoping it might be a little warm too, but if it's not, we'll all just dress warm, and together we will not be torn apart. Instead, we will rise together and rally, and I'm grateful that we have all got to be here tonight and do what we did. So woo, you go, girl. Yeah, that's the way. Anybody have any final words, Jazz and Devo?
Yeah, we just wanted to say thank you to everyone for being here, and Laura for inviting us. And it was just such beautiful discussions, beautiful people, important content, and we're really excited to listen to the album. Music is a huge, huge part of our lives. So thank you.
Awesome.
Amazing. And you are Landmark trained as well, I saw in the comments.
Yeah, it's an amazing organization. Yeah, it's always great to meet people from there.
Yeah, shared BS, right? And I don't mean that disrespectfully, but
Yeah.
you got the same context because the belief systems come from the same tradition or mystery school, right? So it's like as much as it, we can look to be offended, and I didn't mean that, and I know that nobody here specifically, would have taken offense at that, but it's just that reminder, anybody listening back, if you get offended or triggered by something that somebody said, including myself, which I say a lot, so it's possible, and I trigger a lot of people because ultimately I activate. I'm an activator, and you likely are too, because that's what lighthouses do. We activate the boats and we say, hey, this is the shore, don't go any more near, go out more far. And so just being very mindful of the fact I lost my train of thought because we're near the top of the time we've got together. And
Well, transformation doesn't always feel very pretty. It doesn't feel so comfy, So that's probably why people get triggered with you. As same with me, But it's so good to see people from Landmark. Thank you for messaging me to say that. It's great. I'm just trying to see where if I know you. I'm just trying to. But anyways, because you're in the dark a little bit, but. Oh,
Take
yeah.
care, Janine.
Okay.
Amazing.
Great.
Thank you for being here.
Yes. Huge thank you to everyone for being here. And definitely feel free to leave your details in the chat, please, before you go. If you're not already on the list, I'll make sure that you get added so that when I do send out an update about the next event, that you are on the list of the emails that I forward and blast out that message too. So it has been an absolute pleasure to have each of you in the view tonight. So thank you for blessing us and this space with your grace and presence. And Jared, final words before the next mental health meeting next month that we haven't scheduled yet, but I look forward to co-hosting with you.
Lovely. Yes, thank you everyone for being here. It's been a remarkable experience. Thank you, Laura, for the interview / co-hosting position. It's been a joy to be a part and to see people come together, especially with connection and with common ideals. And I'm very excited to work with everybody on the next project, who's coming to work on the next project, and everybody who's coming to listen, because projects need listeners too, and it's the listeners that share that are making a difference in people's lives. The artists created the songs, but the listeners that share them are the ones that are making it effective, the ones that are carrying it into action.
One more point, actually, to that note, this is not just for artists of a musical variety. This is also for artists of a visual variety, because there will be music videos that need to be filmed that people may be willing or interested in having input or be able to do some collaborations with. You can collaborate with other musicians. I did want to say, I meant to announce it earlier, that I actually am talking to Eric Vasquez about hosting a sing-along so we can actually do a group cover of Read All About It by Emily Sandy. I think that would be absolutely amazing because it's just so empowering. And for us to do that as a group, I think that would be pretty spectacular. On Tuesday, actually, I'll mention as well, in addition to the peer support, which is on the 16th, Sunday at 2 p.m. in Dover. On the 18th, that is, I'm going to be teaming up with Angela with Freedom Forum News, and we're going to have a screening of Zeitgeist. Do you remember that from 2007? That was like that movie that kind of had fundamental awakening properties for us all to really see the connection between Jesus and the Son, and all of how it all ties together with other storylines and the myths of it all, which connects to the chapter that I read about the Santa Claus gestalt, which I had in the Notices of My Abilities and the Myth of Santa Claus back in November. I touched on Santa Claus, and it all really actually ties together in a far more grounded perspective than what the myth might make it seem. So I just wanted to invite you to the 18th at 7:30 Eastern is when we're going to be screening Zeitgeist. And then, as I mentioned about the Queens and Kings and Queens at Queen's Park in Toronto on the 29th, dressing up. And I'm actually hiring a videographer because we're putting together a documentary, essentially, because what I feel like is that we really need to actually be coming together to record what is happening, because this is our story that history will be written about. It's just his for now, and it's ours that we need to take back. And so that documentary is going to be coming together with these events, but also with these events. So I'm grateful to everybody for showing up, and I just wanted to squeeze those reminders in since they came right towards the end there. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And it was an amazing evening with each of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Awesome.
Thank you.
Jay Gani, I love it. And yes, Michael, we'll look forward to hearing more. If you didn't catch his Telegram group, it was the very first one, Spell Magic Words, because it is all about spell casting. And so let us break the spell of fear and plant seeds of faith instead. Peace out. Peace in. Have a great night.